Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Wiley. I'm here. In today's video, I want to go over some interesting thoughts while reading this interview with Toshihisa Lida. I probably said that wrong. I apologize in advance, but let's go ahead and get right into the interview. There is a couple of things that I just do want to point out. I'm not going to go through all of it. I do recommend coming to fujirumors.com because there's definitely some interesting things in this article and it's worth the read. The first one that I want to talk about is global demand for digital cameras is down 40%. This is something we all know because we've been living with COVID for quite a bit now. But what I really want to talk about is that as we get into the Christmas season, which is November and December, if you're looking into purchasing camera gear for yourself or for a loved one, really think about getting into the used market and buying some used gear because there's going to be some incredible deals going through November and December. It's something that I talk about every year on this channel, which is there's just so much good used gear out there. And at this point, pretty much all of the lenses and camera bodies within the last couple of years, they're so good nowadays that we're really just nitpicking on some of the finer points when you see all these YouTube reviews and whatnot. Pretty much any lens or body combination from any of the major brands will serve you really well. At this point, I'll go with what professionals have been telling me for quite a while now. It's that the gear is so good, you can pretty much make up for any deficiencies in the system with your own technique or your own process. Just go out there, start creating content, hitting that play button, and really enjoy yourself because it is a very long learning process. And really, the gear is the smallest aspect to you becoming a successful content creator. As we move down the list, the next thing that I want to talk about is customers don't buy sensors, but they buy the experience. And I would say this is actually very demographic driven. People on YouTube are very spec driven. They're just crazy about specs, a little bit too much, but you do have to wonder if these people that really go overboard on specs actually go out and buy the camera, or if they just like to get on YouTube and debate other people from other camera brands. For myself, I am definitely more about process and experience and workflow. I really want to get things done very quickly, and I want the gear to get out of my way because I just don't have the time to really spend fiddling with it. So I do believe that the experience of the camera is really important and not so much the specs of it. The only time I would actually disagree with that statement is for kind of specialized photography or videography, like being able to record in really low light because you're out in the mountains somewhere. You do kind of want to have specialized cameras that are really good in low light. Otherwise, you're going to be packing a lot of gear with you. So there are definite niches where the gear is super important, which leads me to my next topic, which is consumers no longer want to invest in the product. They want to invest in the service and the experience. And this is one where I kind of debate back and forth because all of us do have to invest in the gear, specifically the lenses, because you're going to need more than one in order to actually cover all of your bases. So there is some investment involved. I feel like a lot of people don't want to overly invest because nobody wants to be super brand loyal anymore, because nowadays, especially amongst content creators, they jump ship to other brands all of the times, but there are also plenty of people that want to try new gear. But in terms of service and experience, I get the experience part because when you buy into the camera system, you really do want to enjoy using the gear that you're going out with, because when you're in a positive mindset, you're always going to be able to create things much better. Now, in terms of service, the only thing I can think about is kind of firmware updates, in which everybody wants to have continued support for their camera. So they constantly want new firmware so that they get new features and they get bugs removed from their current camera systems. In terms of service and experience, definitely leave in the comments below what you think that means. So the last thing that I want to cover, and this is a very interesting statement, which is in the last 2 years, the market has shifted strongly towards full frame. And that's something that Fujifilm has to worry about, because just looking at the incredible ecosystem that Fujifilm has built, but it might be largely obsolete if the market is actually moving into full frame, largely because I think full frame cameras have gotten to the price point where they're the same price as crop sensors. The camera bodies are about the same size. The only thing that isn't smaller is the lenses. The lenses continue to be very large, and that is a problem with full frame cameras at this point, but they might be able to do something about that. I don't know. There's a lot of prime lenses in the full frame lineup that are reasonably well sized, but currently the full frame cameras don't really compete well with crop sensors in terms of variable zooms. There's plenty of great variable zooms in the Fujifilm lineups that's small and compact, but you don't really find those in the Canon system or the Nikon systems. The ones that are there, they're usually much much bigger, much bulkier, but that's something Canon and Nikon can both work on, and they're going to eventually have competitive options, or the third party might actually give some competitive options. You have to keep in mind Fujifilm's third party support is kind of just starting to trickle in, but when it comes to Nikon and Canon, they have such large market shares. They do have a lot of third party support, and there is some terrific lenses, and they're probably going to start building it for the Z mount and the RF mount. But since I'm already invested in it, it's not something that I worry about. But if somebody were to ask me for a recommendation, this is something that I would definitely keep in mind, because I wouldn't want them to invest in an ecosystem that's kind of on its way out the door. But definitely let me know what you think about this statement, because it is a very strong statement. Let me know how you feel on that in the comments below, because I'll be very interested to see what the Fujifilm community thinks about that. Anyhow, those are all of the statements that I wanted to talk about in this article. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.